What's up, losers and losettes? This is James Sanity, and today we're going to be taking a look at some Danganronpa concept art. This stuff is wacky. I know that some of the designs that actually made it into the games and anime are already pretty wacky, but some of this stuff just deserved to stay on the cutting room floor, let's say that. Let's jump right into it. So here's our first little piece of juicy concept art. It seems that this was Akane from Danganronpa 2. This is definitely a strange design for the character. From what I can, tell when I got this image, it seems that this is like an antagonist version of Akane, right? That this was supposed to be a more, villainous persona of the character. Still kind of weird, though. I like the hair to some extent, but I'm not sure how it would have translated to the colored art style. Either way, it's an interesting look, that's for sure. Next here, we've got apparently what is also a concept design for Akane. I have absolutely no idea how this translates to the current version of Akane. They have a chain right here, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. The hair reminds me of another, it reminds me of Tenko a little bit. This definitely looks like a shy character. Definitely not the Akane that we probably know from Danganronpa 2. I would imagine this carries a lot of the same, backstory as Akane that we actually got, but probably cuts out a lot of the, more happy-go-lucky parts of the character. It just makes her really sad. That's what I imagine this character as. Tortured and sad. Let's move on. Alright, so here we've got Angie Yonaga from V3. Everyone's familiar with Angie, weird-ass cult girl, whatever. This is actually pretty similar to the current design. I'd imagine this is the same character, more or less, than the current design. So, I don't know. I think either design could have worked. I don't necessarily prefer this over the design that they went with, but I certainly could have seen them using this for a very similar, if not the exact same character that we saw in V3. Now, here is a more wild design for Angie. Jeez, she is... First of all, she's wearing, the skimpiest swimsuit under that big, artist's shirt, giant-ass paintbrush, frilly hair, and she is a lot shorter, it seems. I am really glad they didn't go with this design. Frankly, it is a creepy design. Let's just leave it at that. Now, this is the only image I have for Chiaki Nanami, Ultimate Gamer. I could kind of tell that not a lot changed from this design to the final one. It's pretty similar. The only actual note I have for this would be that it looks strikingly similar to Chihiro. And maybe that is why they changed it, because it literally just looks like Chihiro again. Now, there's no way I could do a Danganronpa concept art list without bringing up these designs. These are from a earlier version of the game, way earlier than we really have much information on. And these characters are all the same cast, I believe, from Danganronpa 1. Without any real exceptions. I guess if you wanted to, count an exception, it would be, Mukuro, but I'd assume that was still a story spoiler at the time. So, we have Makoto, who just... His right leg is disappearing into the void. Taka looks like an anime hero. Mondo looks strange. He has a very big hand. This is an art style that I'm honestly glad they didn't go with, because it's very inconsistent in a strange way. Especially when it comes to these characters' facial structure. Some of them have that classic, oh, we have anime eyes, You can look at characters like Junko. I think that's Chihiro in the bottom right, I'd imagine. And, Sayaka, for example, and they have these, big anime eyes. And then you look at characters like Hifumi Yasuhiro, Byakuya, and they just have like more realistic and toned faces, which is definitely a contrast. And a lot of these characters have even more body contrast than I think we necessarily saw in the first game, or at least it's not masked as well. So I'm glad they didn't use these designs. Also, Monokuma has a slit throat. Whoa, hope YouTube doesn't ban me for this one. Now, this absolute stud right here is apparently supposed to be Fuyuhiko, the tiny little Yakuza boy. Apparently, this was him from a while ago. And it definitely fits the Ultimate Talent. But as far as interesting character designs go, I don't think it's that good. Now, this is an interesting one to me because this character was actually never named, as far as I'm aware, or if they were named, I can't read it. This is a seemingly a male character wearing a gas mask, which is interesting. And there's also a girl variant of this character that bears a very striking resemblance to Kaede Akamatsu, the protagonist from Danganronpa V3. And this is kind of interesting to me because if there's two of these designs, right, and one of these designs being Kaede's main design that went pretty far into the game, obviously, I'm wondering what these two, like, gas mask characters would have done, or maybe even if there are more of them out there. I didn't do a super comprehensive search of Danganronpa concept art. I sort of just went Google images on it and picked some of my favorites. So, if there are more of these, like, gas mask type characters, I wonder what their role in a story would have been, honestly. Speaking of gas mask characters, we have gas mask Ibuki. We're not done with the gas mask yet. Apparently, this is a concept design for Ibuki. I actually quite like it, though it seems like the character would have taken a much less comical direction if she were to be wearing a gas mask and looking like this. But I think the design itself is very good. It's pretty clean, and I think it's visually interesting, especially because you've got, like, the one long sleeve hand and the one leg that's just open, whereas the other leg is covered. I think that's a unique look, and I like this character design, but again, I'm glad they went with the Ibuki that we actually know. This is Gonta, Ultimate Entomologist Bug Boy. It seems that this design is pretty similar to the one we got, without the muscles. It seems that they just gave Gonta a lot more muscles in his final design, and made his hair a little less, like, spiky all around. Overall, this is a pretty similar design to the one we got, though, so I don't have a lot to say about it. Now, this is an interesting one to me. This is Gundam Tanaka. I really like this design. With a little bit of polish, I think it could have even been better than the one we got. Don't get me wrong, I like the Gundam design that we ended up getting, but I think this is a really interesting one. I really like the hair, and honestly, like the side profile, the pointy chin. He's still got the whole Gundam thing going on. He's still got that energy of whatever the hell Gundam is. But as I said, I really like this design, but you know, I'm not super upset that we didn't get to see it, because we still got a pretty good Gundam design anyway. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Hajime Hinata. Now, let me say, for the record, this is a much, much better design than the one they went with. I think the one they went with is, frankly, quite bad. The hair looks awkward. The character as a whole just sort of looks like they just woke up a little bit. I don't think Hajime's design is very good at all. I get that he's supposed to, like, blend in with the crowd because he's technically not an Ultimate Talent student. Spoilers, I guess. But I just think it's so bland, the design they actually went with. This, I think, has at least a little bit more character. It reminds me somewhat of Shuichi. A little bit. And I think this character would have been a tad different than the one we saw in Danganronpa V2. Not just the design, but the character, because I don't think this one reflects Hajime's current personality too well. I don't know, I definitely prefer this, though. Now, you may be asking, who in the hell is this? And I have an answer for you. This is also Hajime, believe it or not. This is also concept art for the main character of Danganronpa 2. And I really like this design, frankly. I think it's a much more defined character. I think that I can look at this and at least assume some things. With Hajime, it's just a dude. It's just a kid. But with this, I feel like it's a lot more unique, a lot more stylized. I like the hair a lot. So, yeah, definitely better Hajime concept art than actual design. This is Himiko, if you couldn't tell. The majority of the design, 95% of the design is pretty much the exact same. But I included this concept art because she's wearing a funny hat. And I like the hat. I'm glad they went with the witch hat that they went with, because this doesn't really fit the mage theme or magician or whatever. This doesn't really fit Himiko's character, but I just like the hat, so I thought I'd include it. This one, if you couldn't tell just by looking at it, is Ibuki concept art. It seems to me that this character would have been a tad more serious in tone than the Ibuki we ended up getting. And I'm glad we got the other design. This design is like 90% the same, but the hair is different, and to be frank, I don't really like the hair in this concept art, so glad we got a regular Ibuki instead of whatever's going on here. What is this? What is it? Why does... There are a couple of concept arts in this list that have this, like, whatever face is going on here. It is utterly confusing why they would, like, draw characters with this face. The only character I can think of in any of the games is Ryoma in V3, but other than that, I can't remember any characters that had this face. Oh, no. There was the one guy from Danganronpa 1 that was technically not a main character, but I remember seeing his face. I'll put an image of him on screen if I can. Anyway, if you needed me to say it, this is awful. This is absolutely dreadful, and I'm so glad they didn't use it. This right here is some pretty famous concept art. I believe it's from Danganronpa, another episode. This is Junko, or at least a variant of like a Junko type character. I really like the design. I think it's a nice way to juxtapose Junko, especially with like slightly different hair. Not even slightly, just completely different hair. I'm not sure where this character would have been, what they would have done in any story, but I think it's a really cool design, especially for what I imagine to be a different version of Junko, obviously. This right here is a creepy looking Kibo boy. Super glad they didn't use this version, because this one looks just really childish. It doesn't look good. It looks like a 10-year-old, which is strange. I pretty much liked the Kibo design that we actually got. I think it's alright. This is not alright, actually. This is bad. I don't like it. It's bad. Speaking of bad Kibo designs, this is also Kibo, and what in the Astro Boy hell is this? I'm so glad they didn't go with this, because dear God, it's terrible. This definitely would have been a different character to some extent than the Kibo we actually got, but his design just looks like a weird cross between Ryoma and Kibo, and I hate it. I hate it with a burning passion, and I probably wouldn't have played V3 had this been on the front cover. Now, let's move on to my favorite Danganronpa character of all time. This is Kaito Momota, Luminary of the Stars. And I like this design for the most part. It's a bit bland. It could have used some tuning, because I don't see a lot of actual, like, unique character in this other than just brash guy. But overall, it's not bad. I like the hair. But I also like regular Kaito's hair, so it's like a roof. It's like a roof. It just goes down. This design is what I will lovingly refer to as Biker Gang Kaito, because that's kind of what it looks like. Sorry for the low-res image on this one, but I hate it. This design is bad. Everything from, like, the head, like, actually, I don't think this design is bad. It just doesn't fit Kaito. If they were gonna use this design, I imagine they would have had a much different character for Kaito. because this doesn't fit his current character idea at all. And finally for Kaito, we have the sort of infamous like spiral head design. Again, I really like the hair. I'm glad they stuck with the idea of having really wild hair for Kaito. But this seems like a more aggressive character to me, and he's not even wearing like an undershirt, which is weird. Either way, I don't think this is a bad design, but it would have definitely been for a different personality than the Kaito Momoto we come to know. This here is concept art for Kurumi Tojo, the ultimate maid, and I don't think it's terrible. I actually like the design they went with quite a bit. This one is a little bit more bland, and I'm not as big a fan of the hair, but overall it's a pretty similar design, so I guess I'll give it a pass, I guess. Did I just say I guess twice in the same sentence? This is apparently another variant of Kurumi, and I'm gonna give this one a hard pass. This is not a terrible design, but to me it doesn't fit Kurumi Ultimate Maid at all. I'm gonna redo all of this because my hair is having a fit. This is another set of concept art for Kurumi, and I'm gonna give this one a hard pass, actually. This one isn't very good in my opinion. I think the hair clashes with the dress, and I don't know if this is just my eyes playing tricks on me, but it looks like she's wearing mascara, like a lot of it. Maybe that's just like part of the drawing, but this looks like some sort of goth chick, and it doesn't really mesh well with the different aspects of the design, I think. Here's a pretty infamous piece of concept art. This is Kokichi Oma, and honestly, I know a lot of people really like this design. I don't. I think it's pretty unimaginative. I think having Kokichi, from the looks of things, he looks even shorter than he ended up in the final release, which would have been a bad call in my opinion, so I'm glad they didn't go with this. Also, this design is just less striking to me. I really like the checkerboard pattern that Kokichi has in V3, and I don't think this would have like been as visually impactful, so glad they didn't roll with this one. This, I believe, is Komaru Naegi, but a different variant of Komaru that I believe would have been Leon's cousin. I could have that info entirely wrong, but as far as I'm aware, this was supposed to be essentially Komaru, but Leon's cousin, which is strange. I don't even remember where I got that little piece of information, but I hope it's correct because I've said it here. If you couldn't tell just by looking at it, this is a beta design for Korekio. That essentially the only difference I'm noticing is like the eye patch and the different hair, and there's also chain wrapping around his chest. I don't think this is a terrible design. Honestly, I'd put it in the same tier as Korekio's actual design, which I'd say is also pretty good, mostly because there's very little difference, and the differences that are here I feel like don't impact the design enough to really make it too much better or too much worse in any significant way. This is a beta design for Maki, the ultimate assassin slash child caregiver slash Maki role, and this design is much better in my opinion. I love Maki as a character, but I hate her actual like visual design. I think it doesn't fit in Ultimate Assassin very well at all. To go on a tangent for a second, Maki's current design, the one we see in the game, is double pigtails to the floor, a like red schoolgirl outfit, which is so unbelievably strange to me that they made this ultra serious like assassin type character. I get that she wasn't supposed to be an assassin for the first couple chapters, or at least you weren't supposed to know that, but when you think ultra serious characters, I don't think, yeah, give her double pigtails that go down to her feet. Like, what? She looks so comical, yet acts so seriously. I love her character, hate her design, and I think this would have been much, much better. This is a weird one. This is also for Maki. The hair is strange, but I actually kind of like it. Especially when it pertains to, like, a character such as hers. I think this design works way better for Maki. As I said previously, the old design, or when I say the old design, I mean the current design that they actually went with, sucks. Terrible. Should have gone with one of these. Now, from what I can gather, this is also a design for Maki, which is I'd say it's a good design. This doesn't really fit Maki either, but judging by the way she looks and the way she's actually smiling in the concept art, I would say this would be for a different type of Maki character, so I'll give it a pass because I like it as a design. Not entirely sure what the character would have been, though. This is just a bunch of different, what are essentially hairstyles for Makoto. I like some of the designs in the, like, bottom left. I especially like the design next to the final one. When I say the final one, I mean the one on the very right of your screen. Go a little left, and the one on the bottom to the left. I actually quite like it. I like the dog tag. I like that it feels more open than Makoto's current design. Or if you wanted a more closed-off look for Makoto, you could have gone with the colored-in design with like the neck collar type thing that he's covering his face partially with. I like that as well. Overall, just different looks for Makoto. It's still Makoto. Still Makoto Naegi, the ultimate lucky student. Good. This right here is a beta design for Miu Iruma. And I'm glad they didn't go with this. They kept the outfit mostly the same, it seems. But she appears shorter. And also, her hair is terrible. I hate it. So, glad they didn't use it. It's like Celeste times 2, but smaller. And it's weird. And I don't... Ugh. It's weird. Now, this is another beta design for Miu, as you could probably tell. I think they kept the outfit for the most part, as far as I can tell. But I like this one more than the one we actually got. Mostly because of the hair. I mean, the hair's the only real difference here. But I think it's way better than the hair that Miu actually had. I don't think the hair Miu had really fit the character all too well. So, I like this. I like the, scraggly aspects of it. It doesn't have that weird, pokey bit at the top that I didn't like in the actual design. So, yeah, thumbs up for this one. Still don't like the character concept, though. This is actually another concept art for Miu Iruma. And I like this design. I quite like it. This, to me, just looks like a I don't know, female Kazuichi, maybe? I actually kind of like it. I prefer the one on the left to the right, because on the right, I don't think the hair fits super duper well. But other than that, I think this character would have definitely worked for Miu. The design they gave Miu definitely fit the character, I won't deny that. But when it comes to, actually looking presentable, I feel like this is way better and reflects the character more as opposed to wearing a weird pink dress with, straps on the top of it. Just saying. I don't know, should have gone with something similar to this. Here we have some Nagito Kamaida art, and I think this actually fits a little bit better than the Nagito we got. I think the glasses and the, coat over his mouth a little bit, I think that fits his character pretty well. I don't think the design for Nagito that we got was necessarily bad, but I think this would have also worked. Also, I love how the one on the left is just 90% pure black darkness. I think I'm sure that would have been detailed had this design been ran with, but I just like it. I just think it looks cool. Here's some more Nagito concept art. I like the hoodie, and that's about it. You know, that's the only difference from this and the main art that we got. I think I see glasses, though. I think Nagito with glasses would have worked better than Nagito without glasses. Just saying. Nagito's a shit character, but I like his design enough. Nekomaru Nidai is sort of infamous for having way too much concept art for a character such as him. This is Nekomaru number 1. I hate it for obvious reasons. Let's move on. Nekomaru 2. I also hate it. In what universe is this an Ultimate Team Manager? And I think his face just stands out way too much compared to the natural Danganronpa face structure. I think it looks terrible. so I'm glad they didn't use this. This is also Nekomaru. What happened with Nekomaru Nidai as a character where they couldn't figure out how the hell to draw him? I get that Nekomaru's like current actual design isn't too complicated, and I think it works at least okay for what they were trying to go for. So I have no idea why it took so many awkward looking concepts. Did someone say more Nekomaru Nidai concept art? Because I got it for you. This one looks like a retired champion boxer who lost like 50 pounds. I don't much care for this design. Moving past Nekomaru, I believe this is Rantaro Amami, and I don't think this is a bad design at all. I actually quite like it, but I also like the design we actually got for Rantaro more. This just looks a little more bland, a little more simple, and I think Rantaro's current final design looked a bit more complex in a good way. I just realized it even says normal to the max on the concept art. I don't know if anyone added that in post, but I think that's just funny. This is also Rantaro, but from what I can tell, this is a different version of Rantaro that was sort of supposed to be a ladies' man type character, which I don't think really would have worked all too well. I like this design for the character they were trying to go for, but in terms of the character itself, I'm glad they didn't use it because this guy looks awkward as hell. Ryoma Hoshi had a awkward phase in his life where he didn't have a chin, had a freaking like cone head, and looked like this, and I hate it. This looks like a shitpost. This doesn't look like an actual design for a game with a budget that is trying to take itself seriously. I am so glad they didn't use this, but I'm also just baffled why it even was drafted in the first place. This is Shuichi Saihara concept art, and I actually really like this design. I think the Shuichi Saihara design that we ended up getting fits his character better, but in terms of like a shy male character that's unsure of what he wants in life and is supposed to be like a semi-detective, I think this still works really well. Honestly, might have even preferred this over the design that we got. I think Tenko's design here, this is Tenko Chabashira's concept design, and frankly, I think it's a lot better than the actual design that we got. I think the pinwheel hair on her final design looks a bit strange. I get that they were going for more wild hair, but I think it looks a bit strange, and I think this fits the character way better, at least in terms of Tenko's actual personality. I don't think the like short skirt look of the current character fits the current character, if that makes any sense, and I think this would have been cool stylistically, if anything. Now we're moving on to our last character. This is Teru, believe it or not. I think it's Teru at least. He looks like an ultimate chef to me, or an ultimate cook, or whatever. I think it looks pretty decent for what Teru was. I didn't actually like the design they went with. I normally don't like designs in Danganronpa that stick out so far from the norm. Like the really short characters like Ryoma and Teru, I don't like their designs. But this, I feel like, is pretty neat. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. This is also an infamous piece of concept art. This is before they transitioned Teru into a little runt man. This is Hot Teru, who has the exact same haircut pretty much, just looks like a normal human being for the most part. And I think this design is like multiple grades better than the design we actually got. Well, that was a trip through the world of Danganronpa concept art. There is plenty more that I didn't actually look at in this video, but I hope you enjoyed regardless. And I hope you found some of those designs wacky, off-putting, maybe even better than the actual designs that we got. So let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my opinions, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.